Thank you so much, Jolly. I'm very flattered that you think I'm one of the big brains on this desk, or maybe the plural was just to mean these two, because I think compared to them, I'm a little bit lacking in the knowledge department. But I need you guys to walk me through it because of that lacking knowledge. We had a Nunu jungle, we had a Draven top. I mean, what the hell was going on, Mike? You gotta break this down for me.
Yeah, so Nunu is actually a really good answer into Poppy traditionally, just because Poppy's W is ineffective against like the Nunu snowball. So I think Nunu is just more of like a surprise pick, but it worked out even better than we expected, just because it's good against also Draven. It's really good at setting up CC layering for Pyke and Sylas, and also for like Gnar if Gnar wants to follow up and ulti with Mega Form. So in the end of the day, it was a surprise pick. They weren't used to the ganks. They weren't used to how tanky Nunu could get in team fights. And also like the fact that Irelia has to dive into a Nunu in team fights makes it really annoying for her too.
Yeah, when you look at the AoE draft here, almost everybody wants to go forward, and Draven isn't exactly the longest range of AD carries either, so you put yourself at a bit of a risk. Honestly, when I saw the Nunu pick come through, I wasn't a big fan of it initially because I was thinking, what lane are you going to gank? Draven can just stand aside, you know, Seraphine can stop you going in, Young on the Irelia can just dodge away here. But as secondary engage or follow-up, even if you don't get the stun, you're denying a lot of the engage AoEs looking for it. You're just disrupting the way they want to go in. So the Nunu pick looked really good. But honestly, Hawk, I don't think it's about the drop here. I actually think AoE still won the drop even with that Nunu pick for Taco. I think Taco Gaming as a whole just played so incredibly well. And Lawrence in that top lane with that first pick Gnar. I'm with Jolly on this. I'm not a fan of first pick Gnar. I thought Draven should have smashed it. And Zamudo did win that lane quite comprehensively. But Lawrence took up so much pressure, drew up so much time. We saw the roam-ups from Skytech and Winnie over and over again. Sure, Lawrence died twice, but he should have died 5 times or more.
Yeah, and well, let's bring up our first replay that we have to illustrate your point, RMC, because AoE threw the kitchen sink at Taco Gaming, but Taco Gaming had a kitchen sink protector, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so we're getting a cinematic version because the Skytech engage was beautiful to come in onto Lawrence. And Lawrence still has flash, still has hop pretty much. Actually used the flash initially, so had to hop over. But one hop and there's no follow-up there. And that became a recurring issue that came through here. Zamudo went for straight damage instead of boots. Actually had 2 completed items first. And then for all that we praise Lawrence, he died twice in lane. This second time kind of didn't need to happen. He did opt the TP back in when you knew everybody was up there. But while this was happening, bot side Taco was responding. So even though Lawrence dies here, again, he's drawing so much attention that his team is winning out on the macro instead.
Yeah, it just felt like the whole game, right? AoE, they never had just like a nice, all right, we dove the enemy top laner back to our business. There was always something, some sort of chase or like something that just didn't go according to plan, be it, you know, Lawrence getting away the first time, or if we saw in the earlier gank as well in the beginning of the game when Rovex came up there. So they were never able to get a clean gank, and Lawrence, as you say, drew so much pressure. But again, even then, even with all these things that it felt like Taco had to answer AoE, we were still sitting on the desk talking about like AoE's actually still in a pretty strong position here, and it sort of culminates in this third dragon fight, Mike, where I believe you thought that they could pull this through, but unfortunately just weren't quite able to.
Yeah, so here Draven actually has 2 items completed. The only issue is whoever engages first has a huge advantage in this team fight. And here we see Taco has a really good engage from the left side flank with the Aphelios and Gnar coming in. So they're sandwiched. Draven has nowhere to run. And that surprise tactic that Taco had was the clutch finish for this game. So this was the deciding point for me. I was like, okay, Taco has a huge advantage now. Now they win.
Yeah, and AoE as well, worth noting, they had just blown basically everything in Rakan's kit to try to pick off Rovex, and they were close, but they didn't quite get it. And it feels like that was the story of the game. They, again, no done and dusted sort of kills. They weren't able to find that pick, and it did influence the later fight. And RMC, I think this will sort of lead into some of your thoughts about maybe what you want to see from AoE in our next game.
A little bit, yeah. So, like I said, I think Dropped was actually fine for AoE for the most part. I agree with Mike Young. I think that fight, even with Rakan's abilities and ults down, you could potentially have won that. It just felt like AoE maybe weren't as familiar with running Zamudo on that Draven. It's a great individual pick, but there are a couple fights they fought without Zamudo there. The bot lane certainly felt like they weren't as comfortable oftentimes with Skytech having to roam all the way across the map here and not being quite as there to cover the Seraphine getting dove here. So if anything, I think for AoE going into game 2, I'd like to see them play a bit more standard. Go back to what has worked for them. Granted, Zamudo on Draven looks amazing for Zamudo alone, but if you pick a Gangplank there, I think the rest of AoE would have been a lot more comfortable, and how to play that out would have been just as good a pick. So for AoE, okay, through a game, mental reset here. Just go back to basics. It's how you got here without dropping more than one game.
So yeah, back to original Coke. No more new Coke. No need to reinvent the wheel. We just want to do what we know has worked and people have loved, I guess is what we'll go with. But Mike, I do want to turn it over to you because it seems like the issue, again, not necessarily a drafting issue, just something about the way AoE was playing didn't quite click this game. You've been in these positions, I'm sure, many times. You've been to LCS playoffs. You have so much experience under your belt. And I guess what sort of goes through your mind now when you're in an elimination match as potentially even a favorite like AoE?
They definitely need to play with more confidence. They had the tools to start a ton of fights that game. They had Poppy, Rakan, Irelia on the front line with Seraphine coming forward with the ultimate. They just never pulled the trigger before it was too late. By the time it was too late, you're already 5k down. So it's really important to me that they have those engagers be really loud, like the Rakan, for example. We saw that in Taco Gaming. Even the Ophelia was flashing over the Dragon Wall just to get an ulti. So you just need those type of plays.
Yeah, you just got to be willing to beat the X Factor. That's really great insight. I appreciate that a lot. I do want to point out as well, I just got a DM from Travesty on Discord saying that Taco Gaming is OP. I think I speak for all of us when we might be sweating about our predictions a little bit. You know, Mike Young, you went for the 2-1, so you've got some leeway here, but everybody else is looking a little dicey with this next game. We'll have to see if AoE is able to force a game number 3 and show why they are the #1 seed in this tournament, or if Taco Gaming is going to continue upsetting everyone's expectations and bring it home with a 2-0. Jolly and Beat, it's over to you.
Thanks, guys. That's them in shambles. That is them currently in shambles. Again, aside from Mike Young, who, like I said, you know, is kind of along the same lines as me, right? Taco Gaming, man, so many times we tried to count them out. We really have. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, right? But we've been like, yeah, this is just not going to go in their favor. You know, this is their time to kind of bow down. And they say, absolutely not. Nice try. And I got to agree with RMC, right? It wasn't so much about the draft as it was really just kind of the outplays coming out of Taco Gaming and the full control of objectives and the map.
Right, and realistically, like, I think Mike was breaking it down pretty well in the fights too, where sometimes it was about positioning and the fact that Taco Gaming were the ones finding really good engages into some of these team fights. And then it got to a point where their gold lead and the fact that a lot of their tanks / bruisers, all they really had to do was itemize into armor, and they were mostly fine for a lot of these team fights. There was no way for AoE to be able to get back into this one. So going into the next game, of course, back to the drawing board, trying to see how you can come back for AoE. And Taco, they're just straight chilling. They're real happy about that one. A few curveballs, and they both land. Like,
okay, now I will say, I guess, if I had a complaint about AoE's draft, it is just the lack of AP damage.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Seraphine was stalled out really early. I think it was like 0-4-2 in the early parts of the game, 0-4 and something, same kind of thing for Rakan up until like the 20-minute mark. And at that point, if that is your single source of AP damage, and on the other side, you've just got like Randuin's Omens and Bramble Vests and, you know, the plated steel caps and all of that being stacked up on champions that have survivability, there is literally no way for you to break through that. And so that's my biggest complaint, that all the eggs for AP were put into Seraphine's basket down in the bottom lane, and that lane fell apart absolutely for AoE. So they had no real comeback ability. Yes, they had the utility available with the quickness, with the encore, but they didn't have that damage to follow it up. And without that, it's a situation that with a Nunu who's scaling to the late game, with an Aphelios who's scaling to the late game, they are going to feel better and better as time goes on. So hopefully that is the one change that, you know, I would like to see coming out of AoE. Otherwise, I like sort of the compositions that we're seeing, at least the stylization, right? Of kind of saying, all right, most of this is going to Zamudo. The previous one, most of this is going to Gorica, and worked out way better for Taco Gaming.
Yeah, and I want to see from AoE. I think more. I'm cool with the Draven pick because I like it a lot
Yeah.
overall. But maybe keep things focused on that bottom side of the map because of the fact that we got Lynx and Skytech who are one of the best bot lanes we have in the tournament. I think play to them, and that's why we highlighted going into this series how important that bot matchup is going to be, and it ends up being that kind of like twofold success there. You put Lynx ahead, you put Gorka in the dirt. That's a double win.
Yep, it really is. You gotta feel good as Taco Gaming. And again, this is the loser pick side, so AoE decided to stick with the red counter pick ability side on this one. Taco Gaming, I'm sure they're more than okay saying, okay, yeah, put us back on blue, because AoE had the counter pick ability and that opportunity in the last game, and it didn't really work out because of kind of some of that flexibility too in the gameplay that Taco Gaming had, as well as their ability to find some counter picks, like we were talking about with the Nunu being locked down. Makes it pretty much impossible for the Aurelia, for most anyone actually in that situation, to get out alive if they get locked down or hit by that snowball, or even are kind of navigated away so they have to avoid it, and in turn walking into a different enemy there. So as I tried to center myself, I will stop moving a ton and eventually find a center here, right? It's gonna be pretty much the same kind of standard bans coming out here. AoE still taking away both the Karthus and the Kindred out of City Witty, and then on the opposite side, the Callista and the Wukong are being removed once again.
Yeah, I think we're not going to really see anything change in that first wave of bans. The first pick is what I'm most curious about here. Do you just grab Gnar once again? Because, realistically, that was probably one of the hardest matchups Lawrence is ever having to go through. So I think picking it again would end up being just fine, because I don't think AoE will go with Zamudo Draven again. And since they banned away the Gnar, it looks like, that tells me exactly pretty much what I'm saying, where they're like, yeah, we're not going to run that again. Let's just not let Lawrence have that. So surely now Taco just grabbed... I like that.
I like that too, and more flexibility, right? Within this Talia, and oh my gosh, when we see somebody who's very adept, like Shochi, for instance, pop off on this Talia, to be able to get some of that worked ground around, my goodness, this is one of the devastating picks in the early parts of the game, and because it's got that flexibility, it's not very easy to counter right off the bat, but it does look like AoE thinks that they know exactly where it's going. That was kind of my assumption too, to be going into Shochi, so they are picking that Zoe to counter it.
Right, so that you're going to be able to have that extra bit of range, a lot of poke, especially if AoE end up going for something like an Ezreal for Lynx, which we've seen from them before, but it's just going to be the Aphelios lock-in right away. So I like the, I hope that Shochi, who's taking the Talia, just because we talked about in the last game, Shochi, we know the player was really good at affecting the map, and even though Young is very good, of the two, we lean towards Shochi in this regard. He was able to do that on the Sylas. Now with Talia, with that Weaver's Wall, he's getting across the map nice and quick, and that's what you're setting yourself up here. And the fact that Gorka is now the one who's going to be operating the Draven means that in that bottom lane, AoE, if you want Lynx to succeed, I better see Winnie down there a lot.
Yep. Winnie's got to be down there a lot. It's the Aphelios that's been locked in, and it's not just the Draven, but it's the Nautilus pickup with the Draven as well. So that front line, that initiation, as well as that crowd control has already been locked down here for Taco Gaming in the first phase. So they've got a lot of damage, and now they've got the initiator on the front side. So they're feeling very aggressive, and these are all incredibly aggressive picks. I think the thing that I'm going to be most impressed with is these seismic shoves that come out of players like Shochi are some of the most insane things I've ever seen in my entire life. Now the Tom Kench on the other side at least allows a little bit of similar initiation, similar tank ability and frontline ability here for AoE.
And I think it also, and most importantly, it's that Devour for Lynx, because he's going to be your big damage dealer, your big constant source of DPS in this fight. So being able to get, especially against things like Draven, Talia, Nautilus, at least giving Lynx that one get out of jail free card with the Devour to save him from a situation, I think that's going to do wonders for AoE's ability to team fight, and that's why we're seeing that pick come through.
Look at that, the Kazakhs being banned away. So once again, it's focusing on City Witty and his picks, trying to lock things away. Of course, as we saw, the Nunu from that last game is more of a particular pick, right? It was more the situational based pick. It came out incredibly well, but it might not be the case depending on what AoE wants to navigate through here. So they are just going to remove strong junglers. Same thing on the other side for Taco, the Xin Zhao being taken away here. So a lot of that focus on trying to just kind of stall out the jungle in the early game in particular and prevent them from being able to get a lot of these early initiations. I mentioned the Rengar in the last game. I didn't actually think we were going to see a ban, but this is how deep City Witty's pool is. That is definitely something that you got to watch out for. These aggressive picks are not things you can allow him to jump on.
Yeah,
Pun intended, huh?
and they know that Shochi's going to be the one piloting the Talia, so of course you do target the AD junglers and remove some of the things City is going to have a lot of impact in, and you also grab that Graves for Winnie as well. Even though we talk about Winnie being a player who's really good on the champions, who things like Gragas, things like what we saw last game where you have a lot of initiators, Poppy, things like that.
Yep.
Graves is something he has played a lot of. So this is another comfort pick here and a lot of damage available to AoE with that double marksman.
And we got a GP. So now 2 semi-global ultimates, which I don't know. I mean, actually 3. Sorry, 3. And I don't know if you know how much I love those global ultimates. I'm a huge fan of them. And now you've got the Blade, you got the Weaver's Wall, you got oh my gosh, please lock it in.
Okay.
You know what? I'm more than okay with the Zac.
That's
Again,
good,
more of the initiation, more of the front line, more of the crowd control, and also the ability to break apart AoE as a team, which is what that Nunu did so dang well in the last game. So this Zac actually falls very much in line with the same style of play, that disruptive play that City Witty is so good at.
100%. And I'm so glad that we see the Ornn last pick there for Zamudo in the top lane, because even though we know Zamudo to be playing the carry picks, the Fiora, the GPs, which was taken away, of course, he's also really good at the Ornn. And in this situation, you need more disengage. You need someone to be able to frontline here and at least break up the engage that Taco Gaming have set up for themselves very nicely. So it does give them that ability to team fight a little bit better here. And it's just going to be on, even though it's interesting that we talk about Winnie being the one who's impacting a lot of these lanes and finding success. I think versus City, who farms, the roles have really reversed, not just in this series, but especially in this game. Because you see the Zac, it's all about ganks. It's all about setting up your laners. And when you have such a good matchup for you with that Draven into the Aphelios, that's where my eyes are on for this game too.
Yep, especially again, you've got the global ultimates on top of it, right? So if anyone tries to get out, you throw that cannon barrage down, right? You throw the whirling axes coming out of Gorica, you elastic slingshot in, and not only do you have that damage, you've got the slows and you've got the resistance breaks. And so this is a situation where if Taco gets to the point, just like in the last game, where they can kind of bring everybody together to this team fight stage that AoE was working so hard to prevent, Taco Gaming is going to be looking really good again. Now it's up to AoE to try to layer on that early damage that they have once again locked in, but they also have a little bit more scaling on their side this time, right? You've got the Zoe who's going to be increasing in damage, of course. You've got the Graves who's going to be increasing. You've got the Aphelios who is looking for the late game. So a little bit more opportunity here for AoE Gaming to survive the later game, but we'll have to see how things work out because it is Taco Gaming on match point as we head into game number 2. Taco Gaming on the blue side, AoE Gaming on the red side in this best of 3.
That's right. Taco Gaming, 1 game away from finals. 1 game away being at the summit of amateur against whoever wins our second series. Taco, what an achievement it would be if they 2-0 AoE Esports. They beat Cincinnati Fear in quarters when everyone said they wouldn't. And now when all but Travesty say they'll succeed today, Taco might just do it.
Honestly, how good would that... Oh my gosh, okay, cat almost died. How good would that feel as a team to say, hey, you guys voted against us once in the past, and not just once, because there was also the EGP game that they had before last week as well, where everyone thought EGP was going to come out ahead. So right now, it's Taco Gaming just saying, how much damage can we do to you guys all before you realize just how good we can be? And this is the chance for them to show that off here today. If they can end it in a 2-0 series, not a single person predicted that. Even, I don't even know if Travesty, who had said Taco would win this one, actually anticipated the 2-0 in their favor if that's how things work out.
Travesty, if you're listening, I need you to DM someone on the broadcast right now. I don't want you to say it after the fact. I want to know now.
Yep.
If you think it's 2-0 for Taco Gaming.
It's looking pretty solid in terms of their opportunities to do so. Skytech already taking so much damage here. Gorica just stacking up that adoration, feeling good about himself. In the meantime, we already get the roam coming down from Winnie, just like you were talking about.
Wow.
Both of these junglers will have the opportunity to do a lot of damage. No way, Skytech! It's gonna be the flash forward! It's the flash from Gorica, and it had already been gone down from Skytech. That is also the ignite that went through from Rovex, who still has his flash up and available. Winnie taking too much damage. The depth charge comes through. It's a double kill for Gorica to start out game number 2. Oh my gosh,
so
look at the
bad.
damage he's got.
Do not give him the triple kill. Like, that is a monumentally fantastic start for Taco Gaming and a huge, devastating early lane phase for AoE Esports. What did we say in draft, Jolly? Gorica needs to get ahead. He has a great matchup into Lynx, into this Aphelios. So what are AoE Esports going to do about it? And it doesn't pan out like they hope. Taco Gaming are now 2-0, and this Draven, he's going to go back and come back with the Dirk right off that. This lane is done.
It's a lot of damage. Let's take another look at that one, as painful as it was. And the flash from Tom Kench was actually expended right before Gorka was able to flash there, so he knew full well there was no chance at all that SkyTech was getting out.
And I mean, realistically, level 2 Graves, like, there's no chance you actually do anything. At worst, you go, at best, you go 1 for 1, and that it's a kill on Graves, a kill on Draven. That's not worth it if you're AoE Esports. So instead, they get the worst part of the deal. And now, you can see it. Gorka shot up to the highest parts of the gold charts here. Yeah, I mean, it's 3 minutes in the game, but this is still, like, brutal. He's back with the Dirk.
It's huge.
This lane is over.
Yeah, I mean, almost like doubling your lane opponent in gold, basically. Sure, it's only 3 minutes in, but that's absolutely massive. And that is the start of a snowball without needing a Nunu, right? Is Gorka having the opportunity here to 0-0, like you said, has the Dirk, has already got that refillable potion, so is able to kind of sustain himself a little bit. But big kudos to Rovex as well for finding a really solid initiation there, being able to follow up the hook onto Winnie to make sure that the double kill actually came through there. Look at that seismic shove. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I love to see those coming out of players like Shochi, who just excel.
Yeah, and if not for that heal, this trade, I mean, it's already still a really good trade, but, you know, it's always a cool champion. Shochi getting the better of his lane opponents, showing us so many good performances here, and this is just a fantastic start for Taco Gaming, who already have the 1-up in the series. AoE Esports, if they do not want to get 2-0'd, if they want a chance here, we are going to need to see some more activity, and that's why you're seeing Winnie go for this invade, seeing if he can spot anyone and get some deep vision down, eventually set up for another play.
Another play down towards the bottom side. They got to be careful, of course, because as we just saw, there was a previous attempted initiation here. City might be able to actually catch Winnie out. City does have that blue buff available. Also does have a level up. The elastic sling shot comes through. It's just going to be an easy dash over the wall from Winnie to escape, though. And it was good timing because Shochi is right here as well to try to deal some damage. And now it's AoE as 3 members are huddled underneath the tower trying to stay alive and prevent this initiation from coming through. They don't have any vision back there, so they're not fully aware that Taco Gaming is looking for something, but they have to expect that's the case.
And I mean, Shochi forcing Young out of lane, giving him that opportunity. Could have gone down to something, and oh, here we go.
There it is. It was the wait for Rovex to be able to grab the hook, and it did come through with the depth charge, but Lynx will be able to get that pick up. The Ignite coming out onto Winnie. That was the turnaround there for just a moment by Rovex. It's too little too late.
But still, that's something to be happy about. Nice of Winnie to be able to stick around, knowing that something is in the works for the bot lane of Taco Gaming with City's help. So being able to get that kill, 1-0, is huge for them to be able to try and get their bot lane back into this game after that disaster at minute 2.
Hey, 1-0-0 compared to the 2-0-0, sure, it's up against a Draven, so you don't feel fantastic, but you definitely feel better about yourself here. And ooh, it's a flash out of Lawrence to prevent that Zmudo jump from getting in, actually locking up. So AoE, they're mitigating a little bit of the damage that they've already taken themselves.
Oh, and I like that. Zmudo actually went flashless this game. I thought he had Spellbook for a second, but it's actually Glacial. So he went Ignite TP, and those are the sums he's running all game long. He's looking for kill pressure. He says, Lawrence, you think you're just going to chill and scale? No.
Nice try. And that is, of course, Zmudo just trying to get as big and bulky as possible for these later stage team fights, right? That Call the Forge God going to be very pivotal for the rest of the team to be able to get the initiations and engage in, and also to try to prevent some of that additional damage or the lock-on really coming out of these members of Taco Gaming, because we know how much lock-on they have with members like City Witty and Shochi on champions like Zac and Talia, respectively.
And really quick, one thing I will say also, now that Lawrence has hit level 6, of course, another thing that's so nice about Gangplank, that Cannon Barrage, that is so often used to support the bottom side of the map here. It can support another dive if that comes up in a few minutes. And it can even help against AoE if they make a play on that bottom side. So I'm keeping my eye out on what Lawrence does with that ultimate in the coming minutes, because of course, like Taco spends so much time playing towards their bottom side, as they should with this 2-0 Draven. So Lawrence going to have a lot of impact on that as long as he holds his ult.
Absolutely. And he definitely needs to try to keep an eye on that too. It's not something where he can go in too far onto Zamudo and then have to use it to escape. Luckily, he has his remove scurvy if he does end up getting slowed or something like that. But that is the situation I was just talking about. Lawrence having to use it on himself. Out comes Call. The Forge God. That should be enough damage from Lawrence. It will be. And it's a 1-for-1 trade as the minions end up taking down Zamudo.
You know what? That's not that bad, Jolly. I think that's pretty good for, because again, that cannon barrage, it's gone. That's a long cooldown, rank 1. And just as we were talking about it, Lawrence used it to try and win out in that 1v1. That's a pretty fair trade coming through here. But at this point, Taco overall looking like they want to continue their streak, picking up every single neutral objective. Of course, Dragon 1 is up and available, and Herald 1 is up for grabs here, because even though Zamudo goes for that 1-for-1, oh, wait a minute.
There's a nice pull. Young just used his actual flash there to get out.
Yeah.
Still the pressure from Taco Gaming too. And now they're going to make their way up towards that Herald pit as you were talking about here. Are you trying to pick up the first one with Shelly? Oh, yeah. Okay, Travesty's answer. We got Travesty's answer. Heck yeah. He believes in Taco Gaming.
Okay.
He thinks it's going to be a 2-0. And you know what? After the start of this game, I am very confident in your confidence there, Travesty.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, there's still, AoE Esports are definitely not out of it just yet, but things have been going Taco's way. The big thing, too, is that AoE's bot lane waited to shove out that wave before Skytech moved up for the Herald, and this actually could give AoE Esports the opportunity to go for it again, especially with Zamudo going so big in these trades. He's going to be able to come show up to this fight.
There it is on the backside. Young trying to get away from that lockdown. The passive, out comes the Whirling Blade. It's going to be a lot of damage. City Weedy barely getting out with this life. Skytech taking quite a bit of damage here. Shochi looking for the final attack on him. Winnie taking a lot of response. That depth charge, the dredge line just barely missing coming out of Rovax. But that means the Taco Gaming is once again going to find themselves an objective.
And that's huge. They managed to get that one. Of course, the Herald, as long as that it gets secured on their end here, means that they're going to be able to drop that one on the bottom side and continue just funneling gold into, oh my god, into Gorka.
Ooh, it's a scary situation for sure for Taco.
Shochi
has to flash away. The ultimate coming out of Winnie, and it's not going to get the hit they were looking for. They are going to be able to take down Rovex. That also means that down it goes the Ripped Herald. Gorka finding the one. Should be able to find the 2, no problem. Zamudo is actually going to pick up that one. Winnie now has to dash over the wall. Lawrence taking down Skytech. Zamudo running away from Lawrence, City, Witty, and Gorka now, and it's actually Lynx that comes through. Trying to deal as much damage as possible, and it will be plenty. Lynx flashing forward for the second. Zamudo stays alive, and it's a double kill for Lynx.
That's huge. That's 3 kills now for the Cephalios, and a much-needed shutdown coming through, undoing most of the work done in this early game. That was definitely a scrappy one, and it looked like, it was back and forth. The big thing to walk away from, as Taco Gaming, you do still have the Rift Herald. You can still make that play bot, especially with Lawrence's cannon barrage being back off of cooldown now. But, I think overall, you're really happy with that one as AoE.
Oh my gosh, no way. The passive had just popped
You're
as
kidding
well.
me.
So it ends up being a trade. Zamudo for City Witty.
That feels bad. I really thought it was going to be the 1-for-0, but I think overall still, you feel pretty good about this situation if you're AoE Esports. The fact that you have Lynx in a really good position, undoing some of the early damage that came through at the hands of Gorka. These are now AoE Esports are kind of back in this one. Now they have a bit of a better chance when it comes to fighting things out.
And that was just like kind of what happened with AoE in the last game, right? You had the early kills coming out of Zamudo. Excuse me, and it didn't really translate over into the later portions of the game, right? Because of the team fight stages and how efficiently it worked out for Taco Gaming. Of course, if you're Taco, you do still have a lot of good opportunities because we haven't really seen a full team fight come through. We haven't seen the stack of the bounce house on top of the cannon barrage, on top of that whirling axe, or Rovex even being able to get in and maybe get some of the depth charges down where he wants to. So still kind of up in the air, a bit of a slower game because it is about 12 minutes in. We have had some pretty solid team fights, but Taco Gaming, once again, they have found the upside of all of these objectives, and that first Rift Herald is still available in the pockets of City Witty.
I think the thing I'm watching for in these team fights is basically, again, we're in that similar situation for how are you enabling your carries? And the fact that it's Lynx against Gorka in this matchup. And the fact that I think Zamudo playing the Soren, I mentioned in draft, is going to be a big boon for them here, is something to watch out for. Are they going to be able to take down this Draven, or at least keep them knocked up enough so that AoE can take him down. Now, though, we might have a fight coming through.
There it is. The Weaver's Wall does come through. It's the opposite side that Shochi doesn't want to be on, though. The Blast Cone used gets Young back into the fight. Rovek's taking a lot of damage here. There it is. The Gale Force does enough. Gorka taking a little bit too much damage. It's 3 versus 1. Will he be able to get one onto Winnie before going down? No. It's a double kill going over to Link City. Winnie has to elastic slingshot over the wall, and AoE Esports have finally found themselves their own objective in this dragon.
So far, we have our answer, Joel. Oh, wait a minute. No way.
Oh, he missed it. His Lord's going to take... Yep, that should be enough damage. No way. He's able to stay alive thanks to some of the potions that he held.
This game is just crazy, Jolly, so far. But the big thing to highlight is that we got our answer to the previous question we just posed. The fact is, so far, AoE able to make space for Lynx, who's getting one, has the Gale Force, working towards that second item, is now 5-0 in a really good spot, gold and damage-wise, and Young to feel himself in this matchup too. Oh, wait, he's gone.
Oh, yep, and
Good
that
night.
is plenty of damage. That is going to take down Shochi, who is really hurting this lane at 0-2-0 now. My goodness. And out comes the Rift Herald down towards the bottom side of the map. No towers have fallen quite yet, but there's still about 30 seconds left on plates.
Yeah, Winnie is in the area, but it would be a 3 versus 2. You're looking... Yeah, Herald is likely going to get the charge off, and I like it. Lynx backs off, everybody backs off. They say, fine, we'll let them have this one. They feel like they're going to get the last lap after. Still, getting Gorka this extra gold is nice. You're kind of getting him back into the game, but it's just at this point about how these team fights shape up. Who can make space for their carries?
And that space currently in favor of AoE Esports, thanks to Lynx absolutely carrying, currently sitting at 5-0-0. Doesn't have a second item down yet, but has 16 or 15 on the coal. So is feeling quite good about himself. And especially considering Gorka, that lane of opposition started the game with a 2-0. So Lynx, you got to feel good if you are still focusing towards the bottom side of the map, as well as the fact that SkyTech really hasn't been able to show off like he's wanted to so far.
Right, and now I think the thing worth noting too is that Young is getting, we saw that solo kill come through in the mid lane. Another person to kind of keep your eye out in these fights, because of course both can have an impact on how these AD carries are able to actually play out these team fights. And I mean, Zoe getting the bubble over the wall, being able to force the cleanse out or get the kill if cleanse is not up. And on the flip side, you have that Weaver's Wall for Shochi to be able to get on top of this AD carry, force them to back off, blow summoners, not actually get the damage off that they want.
And I do think that, you know, so far that's the biggest difference, right? Is the involvement between City Witty and Winnie. And this is something we talked about before the game started, right? Of how aggressive both of these junglers can be. We haven't really seen City Witty this time. In the last game, City Witty showed up like level 2, level 3, I think, was there with a snowball ready to go in instantly. And now we have seen City Witty show up to some of these fights. We just saw the Weaver's Wall utilized, you know, to get into the dragon fight. It didn't quite end up working out well, though. He had to immediately drop it because he ended up hopping off on the top side of that, which is not where he wanted to be. So maybe City Witty showing up a little bit more, maybe Shochi being able to get involved in these fights is going to help them out, but AoE is not really allowing that to happen, especially with the roam that we've seen from Young.
Now things have slowed down just a little bit as we see the lane swaps coming through. Now that that bottom turret is down, Taco trying to see what they can get on this top turret and see if they can get more gold onto Gorka. But I like this from AoE. Not only is Winnie shadowing, of course SkyTech is in the area too. Both support and jungle are there for the other side. So it'll be an even battle if things start to break out.
And now that you've got, you know, the later game scaling opportunities showing up here for Lynx, especially sitting at 5-0-0, being very comfortable with gold, that means that it's going to get more and more difficult for Gorka to try to stay in these lanes or even potentially have a 1v1 kind of fight. There's just not quite enough damage now for Gorka to actually be able to stand up against Lynx right now.
Not particularly. Again, it's on Rovix and City Witty. They need to be the ones to make space here for Gorka on this Draven. And it is tough, though, because you are, of course, still worrying about Young and the range that he offers. Of course, outranging the Draven. And especially with the gold AoE we've gotten for themselves, they feel really good about their ability to fight. Especially with Young. I mean, look at that. That was just a flat paddle star. No sleep, nothing.
No sleep. Robex got hit by that. That's going to be the tower going down here for Taco Gaming in the top side. Out comes that cannon barrage from Lawrence. The flash forward from Lynx. And look at the damage that he does. It's just too much. That Gale Force Gaming coming in clutch here as Gorka ends up going down. And that might be another tower here in favor of AoE Esports as they push forward in the top side.
Wave's not quite there, but they want it. Jolly, they're going to go for it here. And City, with the passive up, he wants to go for the elastic slingshot. No, he
Maybe
doesn't.
looking for something. Yeah, I mean, it's really dangerous. There's a lot of survivability. There's still so much health on the opposite side. And with how much damage Lynx is doing right now, even without the flash up, even without the Gale Force up, it's such a risky play to do that and then potentially have your passive pop, you know, in a bad area to where your team might sacrifice themselves to stay alive. In the meantime, though, it does look like AoE is at least recovering on some of these objectives as they're going to be able to find themselves the second Rift Herald of the game.
And it's looking like, at least from the pings we see, AoE want to use that one right away there. That top tier 2 could very easily be a big point of pressure there that they want to focus on the Herald. And with that, they would be able to get a nice chunk of gold in their pockets. You can see it. You have vision control over this entire top side of the map. So you're free to take this blue buff, and you are free to try and pressure that turret if you so choose. But it might just end up being a little bit of a counter jungler.
Yeah, the vision feels really good for AoE Esports right now. Ooh, a nice little steal right there from Shochi, able to take that Gromp away from Winnie. So that one was at least nice and sneaky. A little bit of vision on the opposite side for them will certainly help out, and they can clear that vision out in the top side of their jungle quite easily. They're a lot more focused on the bottom side, trying to get some pressure out here, though, as we can see Lawrence soloing that bottom, and meantime, in the mid lane, Gorica trying to pick up as much pressure as he can as this next dragon is going to be arriving, and this is where the tie will be broken for these Drakes.
And I like that AoE are just abandoning this one. They have the Herald. Winnie didn't recall, and they just held on to it for when the dragon spawned. And this is perfect opportunity where Shochi is all alone here and in quite a bit of trouble, Jolly.
That is definitely some trouble. Can't see anything. Flashes forward perfectly timed so that he doesn't get hit by Skytech's resurfacing. But he will end up going down right here. Skytech picking up the kill, though.
I mean, you get Shoshi off the map, you get that tier 2 bonus gold, which is a really nice chunk of change in your pocket. That's a nice play from AoE. Honestly, it's Taco's second dragon. Who cares? Soul is not your big win con, and Soul honestly isn't anywhere in sight. So being able to focus on that top side and pick up that kill in the process, I think is a great thing.
Great thing. You know what else is great? Is sitting with a 600 gold bounty on your head after 18 minutes and 40 seconds. Absolutely insane. 6-0-0. We were talking about Shochi in the last game, right? Sitting at 7-0. So we take a quick look at the gold again. Gorica is very close behind, and as a Draven, that is relatively easy to do, right? That's true. Draven's primary, at least on his schedule, he's looking for money, right? He's looking for adoration, he's looking for stacks, he's looking for money, but he's still behind Lynx right now, who currently is stacking up towards, well, you know, could be going with the BT option here, could just be getting the Vamp Scepter and then going with the IE. Has a few different options here, but it's City Witty that's going to be jumped on. Too much damage. There is the bubble. It does come after the Paddle Star, but it might be enough damage. The flash away from City Witty forced out. Taco Gaming very scared under their own tower.
And because we got quite a lead here for AoE Esports, and oh, Zamudo, no way, right?
Ooh, he's gonna miscall the Forge God. That's an unfortunate one, but Lawrence is able to escape with his life.
You say that, Jolly, but Winnie is also in the area, and Zamudo has a lot of health, so you can just walk by the yeah, there's a bit of trouble.
Yeah, all it takes is that smoke screen. Is going to be able to get the dash forward coming out of Winnie. Look at all that extra damage, and Winnie with the ultimate manages to pick that one up. Good help from Zamudo. Lawrence gets taken down again. In the meantime, Taco finds some more pressure for themselves, but on the top side.
A nice little fadeaway there from Winnie to be able to pick up yet another kill. Is in such a strong position here, as is the rest of AoE Esports. It's just tough. Taco Gaming, all they really have to rely on in these team fights, again, it's that ability to be able to make space for Gorka, who realistically is still in a decent position when it comes to itemization damage. And I do like the call. You got to try and force the Baron.
You do, especially when you've got a Draven. It's so much damage on those autos, right? Try to get that out if you possibly can, especially knowing that most of AoE is on the top side of their map, but too far down. It will end up being canceled here. Taco Gaming says, okay, they don't quite have the capacity. Plus, AoE is pushing into the mid lane, trying to now break into the base.
Yeah, you're kind of hoping that you could force a TP and then walk away from the Baron. It just ends up being the far side ward, though. And it also means you lose your tier 2. So it's not like Taco got to do this for free, which is brutal. It's just AoE Esports further cementing the lead they have for themselves. And now Shochi, they know is flashless, is in trouble.
He has been in trouble a lot of this game. Look at this poor guy, 0-4-0. Really hasn't been able to use this Talia at all, and that has a lot to do with the counter pick that AoE was able to get here for Young in that Zoe pretty early on.
Right, and Young, although so much of his play and so much of his success in recent series has been on things like the Irelia, reminds us he can still play the mages. He can still play the AP champs. And this opportunity, no Shochi, no mid laner means Taco Gaming are in trouble if they don't check this Baron pit right now.
They have to know what's going on, at least because they do have the Scuttle under their own control. Out is going to come the Cannon Barrage.
Rolling Death.
Yeah, trying to find that one. Whirling Death does not manage to pick up the kill. That means AoE has locked down that Baron for themselves in pretty quick fashion.
Nice and easy. And not much can really be said for it. Lawrence might be able to get this tier 2. Looks like he will get it, as well as an objective bounty. However, he's in a lot of trouble. He might need to teleport like right now. Even then, it's probably just done.
And he just uses oranges too to try to get a little bit of a speed boost to jump out of there, but he is not going to get away with his life, that is for sure. It's 3 members too many for him to survive, so Lawrence ends up going down. Lynx looking for the ultimate here. He did throw out, so looking for the kill here. He did throw out his ultimate. He's not going to be able to pick it up with the Calibrum though, especially thanks to Gorka being the wings.
Yeah, that's the big thing there. I have a feeling he would have gone for it otherwise.
Oh yeah.
So Lynx is in such a strong position too. Udeli's feeling himself. Bot laner we highlighted a lot for Skill how well he's been playing with SkyTech throughout this tournament and has really shown it here in game 2 after an unfortunate game 1 on the Seraphine.
Yeah, it was a rough one. It was
Tough.
It was 0-4 and something, you know, towards the start of the game, and I'm not even sure how many kills he ended up getting on that one, but it's a lot cleaner in terms of the composition here, a lot better mix of damage. As we can see, it's not all just up to one member, and even if it was, Young is doing so much that it's A-okay that is on his back. Also going to be now the bottom tower broken into as the base of Taco Gaming is opened up. Maybe an opportunity for City Witty to try to find something. He's going to try to use the ultimate onto the backside. Gorka just doing too much damage. The Weaver's Wall coming out. That's going to block off these members here of AoE Esports from escaping from the fight. Call of the Forge God does not get the second hit because Zamudo gets locked down. These Baron minions maybe providing enough of a proxy here. Out comes the Whirling Blade one more time. It's a beautiful hook onto Zamudo, who's able to dash away, but will that ultimate be enough from Lawrence? Yes, it is for the slowdown, and another pickup from Gorka for the kill. Shochi and Gorka both on the run, looking to take down Winnie, who is navigating up along the backside towards those Krugs. It's a nice route, though, but it's onto Aphelios, who flashes and dies instantly. Shochi still looking for the chase onto Winnie. It might be time to give it up, especially with the smoke screen to slow her down.
He's got the move speed. Shochi can keep looking. I don't even think, Winnie probably doesn't even realize it. Okay, so he gets a lot of his health back. He might be able to.
Ends up stealing. Oh no, the miss flash! Poor Winnie has the dash available. It's enough to get out alive.
Wow, that was a scrappy one. Really nicely played, though, from Taco Gaming to find that angle. You feel confident as AoE because you know Shochi is in the top lane. So he immediately TPs back, and you can see Gorka and the rest are holding on so that Shochi can drop this Weaver's Wall and make it so that they aren't able to actually escape when they realize this isn't the fight anymore. Especially props to Rovex for canceling that Call of the Forge God, because otherwise this would have been a very different fight and we'd probably be going to game 3.
Absolutely, it was a huge drop there. Same thing with holding on for Gangplank to that Cannon Barrage to wait until these members of AoE were trying to run away, but you're absolutely right, that Weaver's Wall was really something else. Lawrence now, once again, not in the best of positions. It's SkyTech and it's Zamudo against this one member. It's a lot of damage coming out of those barrels, but it's just too much tankiness on the side here of AoE Esports, so Lawrence will go down.
And nice and easy. Hiccup there, again, onto the top laner of Taco Gaming. You aren't going to be able to get much else. No Baron is available just yet. We're a few minutes from that. And now, Dragon is something to consider as Taco Game, or as AoE Esports, rather. They ignored the second one, or Taco, because honestly, it was better to get that top tier 2. They lost the third one because of the fight we just saw. And now, even though Cloud Soul isn't the best souls, I think it's still really good for Taco to be able to secure it. So AoE, they have to make sure they don't.
Yeah, not only that, but you know what? Getting that additional movement speed right on members like Gorka, on the Draven, on City Witty to be able to initiate, and also on Shochi, who already works a lot on that movement speed, definitely works out. But you're right, you also just really don't want somebody like Young to have that. You don't want that on Winnie. You don't want that on Lynx. All of these champions do really well with additional movement speed.
Right, Zamudo, a little pressure on him, but this is tough. He does a good amount of damage. And with this pressure here, surely that top inhibitor is going to be under threat.
And there it is, a lot of damage coming out here from Lawrence. They're going to be able to lock that one down and take Zamudo out after Call of the Forge God goes through, and they both do stay alive. The Drowsy, though, means that Lawrence is likely going to get killed here, and there it is. Lawrence goes down. City Witty now in a scary position. He will be able to stay alive, though. Oh, the teleport. Gonna come through here from Shoshi.
Yeah, he has the Weaver's Wall.
There it is. The Weaver's Wall will be there in time to cut off Young. He's going to actually jump back over to Shochi and get locked between Shochi and the Weaver's Wall. That positioning was exceptional from this mid laner on Taco Gaming.
Yeah, really nice play from Shochi there. Really nice teleport coming through. You're slowly crawling your way back into this game here. More plays like that, and these objective bounties are going to fall off. And you can see it. Shochi keeps getting these big walls. Taco Gaming are going to be in decent position to fight here. And the question is going to be, what do the 5v5s look like now that the gold lead is starting to narrow? And I mean, especially if we look at carries, Gorka's at 4 items. He's still ahead of Lynx when it comes to itemization here.
Yep.
And that means that he's going to be outputting a lot of damage. So when you get into these team fights, AoE, very important for them to be in the pit first. And with Baron being the thing everyone's looking to fight for right now, they got to start moving up to that top side if they want to win the fight. Taco are in a good position, though.
They are. Look at that total damage. Even though Lawrence has been caught out so many times, currently sitting at 3, 6, and 3, thanks to that global ultimate, thanks to all the damage that he's able to do with those barrels, he's still up there, 3,000 over Young, who has been performing incredibly well. So now maybe is the chance for Taco Gaming to make a move onto this Baron. Again, the damage that comes out of Gorica alone is enough for them to try to make these objectives work in the early parts. You got to be careful because all of AoE Esports is ready to go.
This time around, you got the teleport you were looking for. Zamudo now can't really be the one on that bottom side of the map, or really anybody, because Young doesn't have teleport. At this point, it's the Baron fight that Taco Gaming were hoping for. Watch for City, watch for Shochi.
There it is. The Drowsy's going to hit Rovex. The Paddle Star already onto Gorica, who throws out the Whirling Blade. Look at the damage coming down. Lawrence using his ultimate as well.
Oh,
out comes
nice
Call of
cancel.
Forge God, but it's stalled out thanks to City Witty using his W. And the damage from Zamudo and Young is just too
They
much. It
wanna
looked
bring
like it
him
was in
forward.
favor of Taco Gaming, but AoE Esports turns this one around. Lynx ending up picking up the kill. He ends up going down there to Shochi, and now it is just 2 versus 1, but the passive will be removed as City Witty falls here. AoE Esports now on the run. The Weaver's Wall
Shochi
coming
wants
through. Will it be enough damage? He just has to take down Zamudo, who here was so low. And oh no, he was this close to die. But Young comes into the perfect moment to pick up the kill. It's an ace for AoE.
That's big. You can't start the Baron as AoE Esports, but you get a lot of gold off of that fight. You get to shove these waves even further, and you can still, with Winnie coming up very soon, with Lynx up in 15 seconds, you can still walk towards that Baron after the Dragon and be able to threaten that one. So big team fight coming through. You see the damage honestly looks good for Taco Gaming, but a lot of that was onto Zamudo. And he has a lot of health, Jolly. He's a
He
very
does.
good boy.
Yep, and I mean, able to absorb so much, also able to deal so much. And, you know, it's been good focus as well to try to prevent that Call of the Forge God, the second hit from coming through. But what does that mean as well? That you're not focusing on dealing damage to members like Lynx and Young, who were able to come in there and just absolutely obliterate towards the end of that fight. They weren't even there the entire time, and that's what you have to be worried about if you're Taco Gaming here. So, moving forward, they're not incredibly far behind, right? We're looking at between 5,000 and 6,000 in favor right now of AoE Esports. That is not massive whatsoever as we hit this 30-minute mark. This is where the objectives are going to become more heavy into play, though, because you do still have the 3-stack and that solo opportunity for Taco Gaming or AoE to try to just prevent that from coming through, as they have managed to get a second dragon of their own.
This is the big thing here. We're getting later into the game. AoE Esports, they don't want the series to end just yet here, Jolly. They want to fight. They said they want to be the best in amateur. Taco Gaming, one game away from making a statement.
All right. Now we got to see if this LDR, the Dominic's Rage that Gorica has, is going to be enough to burst through all of the armor. Winnie taking a lot of damage right there. Out comes that ultimate from Lawrence onto the backside. Everybody breaking away. Lynx trying to get targeted here, but it's just not enough coming out of Taco Gaming. They're going to get locked down with Call of the Forge God. The stasis coming through from Skytech, but he's not going to be able to stay alive long enough. It's massive damage on Taco Gaming, and it was once again a clean ace picked up by AoE. This might spell the end of the game as those gray screens are over 35 seconds. Now Rovex, I guess, at 23 is the lowest one.
And these are long timers, Jolly. That is it for game 1. AoE Esports, or game 2, excuse me. AoE want this game 3. They want to go to finals to try and potentially face 100 Thieves next. They will not go quietly into this good night.
No, they will not. And you know what? If you are the desk, you got to feel a little bit of relief because it wasn't a 2-0 here by Taco Gaming. They fought so hard. They stayed in this one so long, and they really did push AoE Esports to their limits and force them to kind of have to pull out the big guns towards the end of the game. So well played by both ADCs, though. I got to say, going into game number 3, that is where all eyes are going to be.
100%. And I mean, it was just good performances both all around there. Taco Gaming, of course, really looking like they were going to bring it back at some point there, but the team fighting was just too hard. You watching these last couple of team fights, and they'll probably mention it on the desk, the fact that Lynx is largely untouched in a lot of these team fights.
Yep.
And that was the big thing they were playing for. He was putting out insane amounts of damage, insane amounts of just insane performances here from the AD carry of AoE.
It's true. And it was, really, really well played by Lynx too, falling behind towards the early parts of the game. We can see that damage. Look at the stacks actually coming out of Lawrence and Shochi, both of whom fell by far the most on the side of Taco Gaming, but it really was this Zoe that was absolutely standout for Young here early on. Same thing with Zamudo getting really aggressive on the Ornn there. So I got to commend all of AoE for pushing this out to a game 3. So don't go anywhere. Not only do we have a game number 3 after this, we've got a whole nother series in the desk to break things down. So we will be right back with more Proving Grounds Close Qualifiers.